What do you got, Coach? 3 things that all coaches need.
Who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of coaches?
New York or the Aces? Definitely going with the Aces.
All right, 4th down. Who has the tougher job, coaches or officials? If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? Well, Texas is different. Welcome back. This is the Coaches Co-op, where coaches connect, grow, and share the grind. I'm your host, Michael Prejean, better known as Coach P. Every week, I'm teaming up with coaches across the country to break down the wins, the lessons, and everything in between. This week, I'm teaming up with Coach Van Malone. Listen, this brother's resume, curriculum vitae, bio, whatever you want to call it, is outstanding. So I'm just going to give you a few bits and pieces so you can know who we're bringing to the stage tonight. Van Malone is a seasoned football coach, a culture builder, and a transformational leader with a career spanning over 2 decades at the highest levels of college athletics. A proud native of Houston, Texas, Van first made his mark as a standout player at Waltrip High School before continuing his journey at the University of Texas. His talents eventually took him to the NFL, where he played for the Detroit Lions and the Arizona Cardinals. Van's legacy is being written far beyond the field. As a coach, he is not only known for his defensive excellence, like guiding Kansas State to a Big 12 championship and orchestrating some of the nation's top defenses, but for shaping young men into scholars, leaders, and contributors to their communities. Currently serving as the assistant head coach and defensive pass game coordinator at Kansas State, please welcome to the stage Coach Van Malone. Y'all give it up with your virtual hands, those of you who may be watching or listening, for Coach Van Malone. Coach, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great, Coach P. I want to thank you, man, for having me. Definitely an honor to be on the show. I've seen some of the guests you had in the past, and I'm excited to be a part of what you got going on moving forward.
Coach, I'm excited that you are here. As I mentioned, there is a long list of things that you have going on. One of them is that you are going to be inducted into the Houston ISD Hall of Honor. I hope I got that right. Is it the Hall of Honor?
Right, Hall of Honor. Yeah.
The Hall of Honor. So, Coach, man, hats off to you. Congratulations for that outstanding honor. I am not a native Houstonian, but I've been here 25 years, okay? And to be inducted into that select group is outstanding, because the athletics in Houston, Texas, in Texas overall, but in Houston, Texas specifically, have been outstanding. So, Coach, kudos to you. Congratulations on that honor.
I tell you what, man, it's I couldn't be more honored, because I am one who I've lived, I've coached, I've worked all over the country, but I've always been proud of my Houston heritage. I've always been proud to be a student student athlete who played at HISD schools. And so to be a part of this hall, I couldn't be more proud. And so I'm excited about that opportunity to go into that honor. Unfortunately, during the ceremony here at Kansas State, we'll have a game where we play in Ireland. And so I think we'll be on a plane somewhere headed in that direction. So hopefully I'll be able to have somebody step in for me. My son, his name is also Van.
Okay.
So they may not notice the age difference, right, as he steps to the stage, is what I think.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Listen, it don't crack. That's what they say, right?
No doubt.
It don't crack. There it is, Coach. So I want to give you the opportunity to talk that talk. So I want you to talk that talk about a couple of different places, okay? So this segment is talking about all of the great things going on in your program, the athletic program overall, in your building, in the community. But Coach, being a Houston native, so I want you to talk that talk, one, about Houston, and then also about Kansas State. So Coach Van Malone, the floor is yours. Go ahead and talk that talk.
Man, I don't, there's not, the fact is this, is again, I said I've operated all over the country. So I'm always having to defend the state of Texas. I'm always having to defend Houston area athletics. I recruit the Houston area, but also recruit the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I'm always having to tell people which area in Texas produces the best athletes. Then when I talk to my friends in Houston, I have to talk about which side of Houston. Is it the north side or the south side that produces the best athletes? And
Good stuff.
For the sake of being able to recruit all these areas successfully, I'm going to say they're great all over, right? And I get no greater joy than when I get an opportunity to come home to the state of Texas, come home to Houston, and have some of Coach Malone's famous crawfish, which are known all over the world, by the way.
Okay.
But, when I think about what's going on here at Kansas State, man, I've been here. This is going on my 7th season. And in college athletics, that does not happen, right? You don't stay at a place this long. And actually earlier in my career, I had a lot of 1-year stops, places that I was at a university, but I had an opportunity to grow and go somewhere else for whatever reason when we made that move. But I've been here, like I said earlier, going on year 7 here at Kansas State. And in our program, man, we've been very fortunate. We've had an opportunity. We are in a small group of 5 universities that over the last 5 years, I believe it is, that have won 8 games or more. And that group is Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, Ohio State, and Kansas State. And so we've been a consistent winner over the years. Well, it no matter where you are, right? When you are having the opportunity to be successful in what you do, it's a great place. You know what I mean? And so we have a great staff. We've had an opportunity to recruit really good young people through the transfer portal and through the high school ranks. And so I'm excited about where we've been. I'm also excited. I'm excited about where we're going. When I talk about where we've been, we just got our bowl rings this today. We all strive to win a national championship. As a coach, yes. I've had an opportunity to receive 14 of those bowl rings. And so, but each time you get another one is just as exciting as the very first one that you received as a coach.
That's good stuff, Coach. That's good stuff. That's elite company that y'all are in.
Yeah. Well, you don't always think of Kansas State when you think of that group, and that's why I like to mention it because, again, it's just being a program that is consistently winning, and that's what we've done, right? And so when you do it for as long as we've done it on a consistent basis, you find yourself in these groups. But if you just, which I do it all the time, if you pose the question to a recruit, or if you pose a question to somebody in the media, that Kansas State's name probably wouldn't come up in that group. They think of a lot of other schools before they would say Kansas State being in that elite group.
Let me do this before I say this. Coach, you gotta hold up the bling one more time. You gotta let those who will be watching see the bling. For those of you who may be listening to this podcast, when it's up, make sure you go on over to YouTube and look at this. You got to see the bling. You got to see the Kansas State bling. Coach, now, if you're of a certain age, which is, around my age, Kansas State has always been on the map.
Well, I tell you what, we're talking about the last 7 years that we've been here, but even before, what Kansas State has represented has been a consistent winner. And you talk about Bill Snyder as a head coach, taking a program that was on the brink of shutting down the doors and having an incredible turnaround during his time as a head coach. I guess that's what happens. When you do that, you get a highway named after you. You get a stadium named after you. And so as we walked through these doors, we understood the great tradition that we were putting in a place to uphold. And so that's where we strive each day to make it better than we found it. And those are, and talking about Bill Snyder, incredible shoes for our head coach, Chris Kleiman, to have to be able to fill.
And you guys are doing an outstanding job. Outstanding job. Coach, again, congratulations not only on your individual success, but the success of y'all's program there at Kansas State. All right, Coach, I want to ask you about this. You are actively involved in diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, things that have become bad words in some circles, through the National Coalition of Minority Football Coaches. Coach, just touch on that a little bit. Tell us what that work is like and what it entails.
Well, you know, listen, you gave me those air quotes. It doesn't matter to me where we are in this society. I'm going to be who I'm going to be. And that's what I'm going to do. Right. I believe that there is strength in diversity. Right. There is strength. If I am stronger in my left eye and you're stronger in your right eye, we gonna match up a lot better together than me operating alone. If you use this word earlier, if you have a seasoned coach in the room and you have a younger coach in the room, then you're gonna be a lot stronger than you are if you only have a seasoned coach in the room. If you have a coach from Mississippi and you have a coach from California and you have a coach from New York, you're going to be a lot stronger in dealing with a variety of people than you would be if you had a room full of coaches only from Mississippi, right? And so if you have a room full of, so we always jump on race, right? Race is, when we say diversity, we jump right to race. There's a lot of ways to be diverse.
That's right.
The most divisive one is when we talk about race, right? Well, what I believe is that as we talk about opportunities for minorities, which is what I've fought for a lot of years of my career, it's just about truth to me, right? You when you put the numbers out there, when you just lay the numbers out, then it's not really an argument, right? There's no argument when you say that minority coaches don't get the same opportunities as our counterparts to be in leadership positions, to lead football programs in college football on the Power 4, on the Group of 5 level. All you got to do is just look at the numbers, and they say what they say, right? And so what I do the best I can to do is to continue to raise awareness of that, and to do everything I can to prepare as many coaches as I can for when they do get that eventual call, right? For when they do get that call. And when they get that call, I want them to be ready. But I'm going to put an asterisk up here to say there are many coaches who are ready, right? I'm not saying that we're not ready. Yeah, there's a lot of coaches who are ready, who have paid incredible dues, who you can say it's their time, right? But they're not getting those calls. And so, again, it's my purpose, my role, my job on this earth, right, to raise awareness to that, to not to flip the table over, not to break down all the windows, but to call it what it is, right, and to continue to stand for people who sometimes are afraid to stand for themselves.
That's good. That's good. We are in the Coaches Co-op talking about the grind with Coach Van Malone. Listen, if you need to know how to get in touch with him or where to follow him, check right here down at the bottom of the screen on X at Van B. Malone III, or on Instagram, Coach Van Malone. Coach, you are fighting the good fight. I want to add one other thing. So Coach Malone is going into the Hall of Honor, but I also would be remiss if I did not point out that Coach Malone is also a best-selling author.
Oh, wow.
Coach Malone has written an outstanding chapter in this book, The Path for Coaches. So you can find this at Amazon.com, The Path for Coaches, Volume 1, Mentoring. Or listen, if you want to get a copy from Coach Malone himself, get in touch with him. Shoot him a message. Shoot him a message so that you can get the book from him. We are in the co-op with Coach Van Malone. Coach, you have a 4-wheel approach to helping players navigate life's challenges. Talk about that 4-wheel approach for me.
Well, we talk about the social wheel, and I always say to young people, man, I'm not talking about social media, right? I'm talking about putting you in a position where you understand your place, that you have a platform, that you are in a situation, a place where you can influence others, where you can help others, where I talk to my players all the time about the fact that, man, you don't know how many people are looking up to you, right? Young people as well as older people who are looking up to you. And so that platform, that social platform where you have a responsibility to make the world a better place is where I am, where I'm talking when I talk about that social wheel. The next wheel is the academic wheel, right? And that is where I'm just talking to young men about the importance of you understanding, man, you came here when you're a student athlete on the college level, you came here to get a degree, right? So as a coach, yes, I know what it's my job to do is to win football games, but as a coach, I also consider it part of my purpose to push you to be the best you can academically, to make sure you take advantage of the opportunities that you are given here as a student athlete. And the third wheel is the athletic wheel, right? Again, part of my job is to win games, is to develop a young man as a football player, to put him in the best position that he can be so that he can accomplish those dreams. And a lot of times those dreams are getting drafted, playing on an NFL team, having success as a student athlete on this Kansas State team. And then the fourth wheel is the spiritual wheel, which is important to me as well. And I make no bones about it. I'm a Christian, and a lot of the young players that I deal with, that's who they are. And so we agree that we're going to push each other to the limits in that way as well, to explore all the opportunities that we have to grow in our faith. And so those are the 4 wheels. I always kind of say the 4 wheels on the bus. And so that's the way, or one of the ways that we communicate with student athletes about what they can expect from us as coaches.
That's good, Coach. That's good. The 4-wheel approach to help players navigate their lives socially, academically, athletically, and spiritually. Coach, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So let me ask you this. When did you know that coaching was your calling?
Man, I always use the 7th grade, right? Because that's as in my head, I don't remember a lot of things, especially once you get to this place. But I remember thinking, talking to my dad about, Dad, you know what? We need to start a business. I've always been this entrepreneurial guy, right? And my dad said, well, starting a business, you have to choose a business that you're passionate about. You have to choose a business where that will allow you to make things better, right? If you're going to be a doctor, that's your business. And so you are passionate about helping people, helping sick people. If you choose to be a teacher, then you're going to have to, that's your business. And you're going to have a passion for teaching people. And if you start a business where you do lawns, you're going to have to love manicuring lawns. That's going to be your passion. So I said, wait a minute, I didn't look at it like that. Well, my passion was athletics. My passion was helping my teammates on my little league team and on my 7th grade team. That's my passion, has always been helping people maximize who they were. So I said, you know what? My business, okay, I think my business will be coaching. Well, that was a 7th grade decision. But then somebody told me that coaches don't make any money. And then I continued to grow, and I thought, man, I want to help. I want to help young people. So I made a decision. Now I don't want to coach. I'm passionate about helping young people, keeping them out of trouble. Because yeah, that's fun. It's cool when I'm doing what I'm doing with my teammates. But I know I want to. In my community, I grew up in Houston on the side of town where, man, we had young people getting in trouble all the time. So I want to help young people not be in trouble, right? I want to get them before they reach law enforcement. And so I said, I want to do social work. And so that was my mindset. Even as I got into college, that coaching thing was out there, but social work, helping young people, because I thought that was even more important than coaching, right?
Yeah.
So one day I go to, this is actually as I'm finishing my NFL career, I go to a high school game. My high school, you spoke incorrectly. My high school is the Wall Trip High School, my former high school. But
my apologies. I'll make sure that I get it. Wall Trip High School. Forgive me. I'm not a native Houstonian. Forgive me for that.
Yeah, you didn't know it. I got you. I'm with you. So I go to this Wall Trip High School game, man. And the coach at the time, he said, all I want you to do is come and talk to the guys before the game. And you can kind of hang out on the sideline if you want to. So, man, I talk to him before the game. I give him a rah-rah speech. And I'm on the sideline. And I find myself coaching, right? Well, okay, it's cool to coach during the game. I guess every fan would be loving to get down on the sideline and coach during the game.
Yeah.
Well, damn, I was there the next week, right? And I was there the next week. And so this guy actually, Coach Conger, this guy actually coached me. He was still at Wall Trip High School. He said, hey, man, you're here so much. You may as well just come on and jump into this coaching world. And here I am, you know. And so it went down a winding road, but I would say that 7th grade operation and 7th grade discussion with my dad came true to form. And here I am some 152 years later, still doing this thing.
That is, Coach, I have learned that coaching is one of the many forms that we can take to help people.
All right.
You know, for some it's social work, you know, for some it's ministry.
Yes.
For some it's coaching. For many, coaching is ministry.
That's right.
You know, so Coach, that is great. A 7th grade decision before you got to the Wall Trip High School, and you're still doing it. You're still doing it 152 years later. So, Coach, let me ask you this. You've been doing this for a while. Done it at the high school level, doing it on the collegiate level, played professionally as well. So when we talk about the profession, the coaching, the time that we pour into it, what is one of the hardest things about coaching that nobody really knows?
Oh man. I think people know. I think people know the time, right? The time that you put into it, to do it at a high level, to do it well. You really pay a great cost, right? You pay a great cost. What do I mean by that? I mean that, yeah, guess what? Everybody understands there are many jobs, there are many careers where you go to work at 5 a.m, you don't get off until 8 p.m. Okay, that happens a lot. You know, you don't get off at 10 p.m. But along with that, you miss quite a few of your kids' recitals. gymnastic events, parent-teacher conferences, birthdays, right? There are coaches out here who have missed some of their kids' births, right? They miss very important days that have happened with their family. So, like again, everybody understands there's a certain level of time commitment that just comes along with having success as a coach, but they have no clue on some of those things that you sacrifice. They have no clue. Um, you know, like if you're a fan, for example, you're a fan of your favorite team, and your favorite team is not successful, right? So you got the people in the stands, they're wearing bags over their head, and they're booing, and they're doing all these things, but they have no clue that that coach has a 6-year-old son or a 5-year-old daughter, and that 6-year-old or 5-year-old, just like they have a 5-year-old at their home or their 6-year-old at their home, that young person sometimes who did not sign up for this. That person did not sign up for this. So when you say, hey, coach, you got to understand that you make a lot of money. Well, the 6-year-old didn't sign up for this. And so there's a lot of stress that comes along with the families of these people, right? And that's something I think, people, they don't know. I love fans. You get a chance, uh, it's part of the reason that I'm not really a fan of things, that I understand it's a challenge to be a fan.
Yeah.
It's a challenge to be a fan, but also be respectful of what's going on with that team, with that coach, with his families, with the players, the amount of stress that they have, the amount of anxiety that they have. At the same time, I want my team to be successful. At the same time, I need you to catch that ball. I need you to get that first down. I need you to dunk that ball. I need you to get the rebound. At the same time, I want to have success. I want to brag about my team because this is the team that I love. I support you. I'm at your games. I wear your jerseys, right? And so I think if I could say anything is that, sometimes as fans, we forget that other side, which is real life, right? Which is real life. This is a game, and it's a wonderful game that happens out on that field. But when you have a 6-year-old daughter who goes to school and people are telling you when you're 6, you're 7, you're 8, your dad sucks. Your dad's gonna get fired. You guys are, because when you say you're gonna get fired, that means we're gonna have to move. We've moved before, right? I know we move, but there's a lot of stress that comes along when you put it just gets to be a challenge for the families, and that's something I think that as fans, if we only knew, that how that really affects people.
That's good. That's good, Coach. Just bringing some gravity to the situation. And what you mentioned about you not really being a fan of of some things. It really, I think, when you get that opportunity to you perform your job duties in a public setting, and when you do that, I think it gives you a different perspective sometimes versus those who don't necessarily have to perform their job duties in a public setting.
Right.
So Coach, that's the hardest thing. So what's one of the easiest things about the job that nobody really knows?
Oh man. When you say easiest, I have to say the most rewarding,
Okay.
because for me, the fact that I get an opportunity to pour into people, to the fact that I get an opportunity to change lives. And you know what? It's easy when we talk about what happens on the football field, right? So when I can get JoJo Scott to cover the post route, that's great, because maybe day one he had problems, he had struggles covering that post route. When I can get Jaden Rowe to tackle on a ball to the flat, right? When I can get him to do those jobs, to execute, that's what we practice, we work on every day. And yes, that is rewarding, but like there's a different level of bling that I'm talking about right here, and this goes beyond what happens on the football field, right? So this plaque kind of is a reminder for me. We at K-State, we do a drive, a cancer registry drive with an organization called NMDP, right? Be the Match.
Mhm.
And so what we do is we go onto the campus, our players do, and they get students to just take a swab, right? And so that plaque just reminds us that over the course of 3 years, we've had 957 people swab. And we've had an opportunity for 5 people, soon to be 6, for 6 people to decide, okay, you swabbed, hey, you're a match. You can save a person who has cancer, who has some blood disorder. You can save this person's life. If you're a match and you decide to be a donor and you go through with it, you save 5 people's lives, right? And so that's what we've done. Again, we've done 5, but I just got notified yesterday that we're on our way for our 6th donor, right? So like these are people that if we don't do this drive here at K-State, if Coach Malone doesn't take an active role in organizing and pushing our players to be a part of this drive, we could have 6 people who are not here anymore. And so like that's the easy part for me is being an influencer. I think we have things on social media now. People call them, they get paid actually to be like social media influencer, right?
Right.
I don't get paid a whole lot, but I call myself an influencer, right? And so that is the easiest. That's the most rewarding part of it. Another thing right on that is I decided probably about a month ago to do a group text with all my former players, right? Players who I coached maybe at North Texas, or a player that I coached at Oklahoma State or many of these other universities. Put all these dudes on a group text. I don't know why I did it, just so that we could all be connected. And the responses from those guys for me doing that was like unbelievable. And so like to me, like that's the easy part is those kinds of things, because there's so much reward. And I would say that there are a lot of people, man, who have a lot of money, right? And they have a lot of fame and a lot of popularity, and they've done a lot of things, but they don't get that, right? They don't get that gratification. They don't get that feeling that sometimes I get as a coach over just the simplest things.
The connection, Coach. That is good stuff. Tell me the name of the match program again. Mention that for me one more time.
It's called Be the Match, and it's under the organization of NMDP, the National Marrow Donor Program. And man, that's, like I said, it's there are other donor registries around the world, but this is the largest one. This is the biggest one in the world. And so I actually am a part of the National Coaches Council for this organization, which is important in the work that they do, because the group of students, not just student athletes, but the group of students, the age group that I'm around on this college campus, this is the top donor base, right? So for us to be able to go through on college campuses and have these programs, it's like truly providing the blood for the organization, the main source of the donors.
That's good. That's good. If any of you who are watching or maybe listening, if you're watching, I got it down here on the screen. NMDP, National Marrow Donor Program. Did I get that right, Coach?
Absolutely.
Be the match. So if you are interested in that, look into that. Coach Van Malone here in the co-op doing outstanding work at Kansas State. Not to mention he is a best-selling author. Let me go ahead and put this up on the screen one more time for you. The Path for Coaches. You can find it on Amazon.com. If you want to get in touch with Coach Van Malone, there is his information. Go give him a follow on X. Make sure that you give him a follow on IG. All right, Coach. You mentioned this a little bit earlier. Well, you kind of tapped into it a little bit about social work. But if you could be anything other than a coach or a social worker, what would you be?
Wow. When you've been doing something as long as I've been doing it, it's wow, it's hard to do that. Now, I would say this: my family, my wife, would probably say I could be a used car salesman, right? So I'm not going to choose that, right? I'm not going to choose that.
Yeah.
But what I probably would do is I probably would be a broadcaster, right? I probably would be a broadcaster. That's something that I've kind of always dreamed about doing. Not anything that I've ever really looked into. I did a podcast once. I'm still kind of doing that podcast every now and again. It's football and my career gets in the way of it just a little bit. That podcast is called Winners Win and Leaders Lead with Van Malone. Man, you you on the game.
Got it ready. I was actually going to ask you about it, but boom,
Okay.
you let us right into there, Coach. Boom, there we go. There it is.
And you know what, man? The team of guys that I worked with and putting that together, they came to me and said, "Coach, you ought to do a podcast." I don't even know what a podcast. What is a podcast? And so they defined podcast to me. So I said, okay, well, what would I do? What would I even do a podcast about? Cooking? You know what I mean? Crawfish, whatever. Definitely didn't want to do one about football, X's and O's, and training dudes on the foot. Didn't want to do that. So they said, it'd be great to talk about leadership. You could get some of the best leaders and talk them through their process, talk them through their stories. And man, boom, that was it. That was it for me. And I have had an opportunity to have like some dudes and dudettes, some really great leaders, ladies and gentlemen who hang in the sports world, who work in this arena, but then some people who maybe have been former athletes, have had the author John Gordon on there, have had Super Bowl champion, now head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Todd Bowles on, have had presidents of universities, president of our university here at Kansas State, many athletic directors, search firm representatives. And so when you go through that process of doing over 80 episodes, you see that, man, everybody's saying the same thing, but they're saying it in a little bit of different way. They're saying it a little different way. And in saying it in a different way, sometimes the words that Coach Malone say, they didn't reach player X or person X. Yeah. But if Coach P says it, he's saying the same thing, but it's just a little bit different, right? A little bit different. The way he presents it, it's going to reach person X. It's going to reach player B. And so that's something that I really take pride in on that podcast, is that we've had an opportunity to have messages which align, but a little bit different in the way they were presented.
Actually, Coach Jacinto echoed a very similar sentiment yesterday. And what we just labeled it is best practices.
That's right. That's right.
It's best practices. There are some practices in mentoring and leadership that you can't, you can't miss.
That's
when
right.
You're hitting these things. You can't miss when you're hitting these things. Coach, this is good stuff. All right, Coach, I got a little game, if you don't mind playing with me just for a second. It's agree or disagree, but we're going to do the college coach edition.
Okay.
You good with that?
I think so. I agree with a lot and I disagree with a whole lot.
Okay, here we go. Sound like this might be right up your alley. All right, here we go. Agree or disagree? Mental health support should be part of every team's game plan.
Agree, most definitely.
Okay. Agree or disagree? Social media has become a necessary evil in recruiting.
Agree.
Okay. All right. Here's a different one. Don't know if it would apply at your level. Head coaches should still coach a position group. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Okay. Agree or disagree? You cannot win consistently without a great strength program.
Agree.
All right, here we go. Now let's talk about some NIL and transfer portal stuff. Let's go agree, disagree here. NIL in some phases makes it harder to build real team culture. Agree or disagree?
That's a hard one, but I'm going to agree. And
Okay.
I'll go ahead. I'm not going to interrupt you.
No. Okay. Go
If
ahead.
you want me, if you want me to
dig in.
Well, and the reason I say that is because that's where we are, right? That's
Right.
where we are, and we can say that it's difficult, but we as coaches, we go through a whole lot of adversities. This is where we are. This is the landscape, and I agree that the players should be able to benefit from their name, their image, their likeness, right? I also agree that the players, which many people have over the years, agreed that the players should take part in revenue sharing, right? I agree that they should, but we have to have guardrails, right? Because when you talk about NIL, when you talk about revenue sharing, right, the number one reason that we are coming to the university is to graduate. That's the number one reason we come in here, is to graduate. And so as long as we don't allow the NIL and the rev share, talking about transferring for more money, and when you transfer for more money, you leave hours on the ground, right? Because very rarely do you transfer and you take all those hours with you. So you make it more difficult to transfer. And so as long as we guardrail, right? As long as we guardrail, when you talk about team culture, my proposal would be, and it's a very conservative proposal. If you and I are on the same team, we both get $2,500 a month as our stipend. I'm just choosing a number, right? Don't say it has to be $2,500, but we both get a stipend. We get our stipend per month. And when we graduate, let's say you're an elite level player and really your bankroll was $5 million. Well, once you graduate, you get you get whatever is left off from those monthly stipends. You get your 5 million when you graduate. Same thing that I do. I get my 150 G's when I graduate, right? But during the time we're playing for team culture, for locker room cohesiveness, then we get $2,500 or whatever that stipend may be. And the elite level player, when he graduates, he gets his whatever that money was. It's put away in his trust, right? And so during the time, that way we're encouraging you, no matter who may be behind you, agents, family members, no matter who, the focus is on graduating. And if you need to transfer, that's fine. You just made it a little bit more difficult to get that 5 million, right? The 5 million is the focus for sure, but you can't get it until you graduate. And that's vitally important, is that we find a way. And that may not be the proposal that everybody would agree with. That's just mine, right? That's my private proposal.
Well, Coach, I like it, being that, hey, this is the reason that kids are attending the university. Right. So I like it. So this is not one of the questions that I had on my list, but this is something that I had in my notes from the last coaches clinic I attended. So agree or disagree? High school athletics is the last realm of transformative athletics. Agree or disagree?
Disagree. I before I started coaching in college, that's what I thought. Right. That's what I thought. I thought that I'm not going to coach in college, because once that college guy is whatever he is, if he's a clown, I can't do anything to change it. But what I found is that even on the professional level, guys can be molded. Even on the professional level, good coaches can transform a young man, right? Because sometimes we think when an athlete, student athlete, or we're going to even call these guys in college collegiate athletes now, or a professional athlete, we think because he makes a lot of money, he doesn't deserve this, right? He doesn't deserve this transformation. He can't grow anymore. Well, he makes a lot of money. He should know better. No, man. No, we can still help these people be all they can be. We can still pour into them as coaches, as people who are in a position to pour into them. And I'm gonna tell you, especially athletes, but young people, and I'm gonna call them young from the ages of 16, right? I'm gonna start with those level of athletes, 16 to 25, 26, 27. Those people still want discipline. Those people still want, they still want what we as coaches have. And we just have to be committed to continually give it to them. Sometimes they don't know that they don't know. Right. And so you have to be a little bit more forceful, a little bit more aggressive in your giving them what you understand that they need.
Coach, man, that's good stuff. Hopefully, if you're watching or listening, that you put a pin in that, because that's good stuff. All right, Coach, we are now in crunch time, Coach. We're down to the final 5 minutes. So crunch time goes like this. It's 3, 2, 1. So we're going to go 3 is 3 things that every coach needs. Then we'll go two of the foulest things you've ever experienced as a coach. And then we will end it with and one. One thing can be anything that you want to share before we exit. So, Coach, let's go ahead and start with 3 things that every coach needs. What do you have, Coach?
Well, one thing that I think coaches need is they have to be able to communicate, right? You know, coach has to be able to communicate. The next thing that a coach has to be able to do is he has to be able to adapt. He has to be able to adapt and adjust, right? And then the third thing that is very important. Well, he has to know, right, from an expertise standpoint. He has to have expertise in his position, and then he has to have the ability to be able to adapt and adjust. And then the third thing, which may be a little different than probably you and I talked before, maybe a little bit different than I always say, is that a coach has to have compassion, right? Coach has to remember when I was 18. The coach has to remember when I was a student athlete, right? It's not that you get to a certain point and everything you say as a coach is wrong. One great example of that is here at Kansas State. A few years ago, our basketball coach came in, Coach Tang, and we were having our student section, right? They were doing a song that a certain part of this song was attacking the opponent, right? It was actually attacking our rival school. And so he said, hey, students, which administrators and coaches for a long time have said, hey, let's not do that. Well, students, they're not worried about that. They're going to do their thing. Well, Coach Tang said, no, let's not do that anymore. And Coach Tang got into the stands with those students. He got into the stands with them and said, no, let me show you what to do. This is what we do. And they respected that. And it's not quite compassion, but you got to be willing to get into the mud with them. And you're going to get in there and teach them, get in there and show them, get in there with them. Don't just yell at them from your rooftop, right? From your high perch. And that was a really good example for me of how young people appreciate you and your compassion and your understanding for what they have going on.
That's good stuff, Coach. That's good. So that was 3 in the key, 3 things that all coaches need. All right, Coach, this brings us to 2 shots. So these are 2 of the foulest things that you have ever experienced in your coaching career. What do you have?
Well, one of the things is unfortunately how we, as not just at Kansas State, but across the country, how we had to cut young people from our teams because we were in a place where we were up against reducing our rosters to 105 members. And along the way doing that, man, sometimes we had to cut young people who did nothing wrong. They just were number 108 They were number 112. They were number 116, and we had to remove them from our team. For some of these players, it worked out, man. They got on with other teams and they're rolling. For some other players across the country, they haven't found a landing spot, and so that was really tough for a lot of our coaches. But personally, was a challenge for me. The second thing that was really foul is something that I did. It's my job to inspire players, and never to break their swords. Always to be truthful to them, but never break their swords. I had a player come to me many years ago. Walked into my office. He was frustrated because he wasn't playing enough. So he told me that he was better than so-and-so, that he should be in front of so-and-so. And I don't know, maybe I had an argument with my wife. I can't remember, but I wasn't in the mood for that. So I let him have it. I told him how he was short and he was not fast and he was not good enough. And that's why so-and-so was in front of him. And I could see it. Of course, he never admitted to it and never would. That's who he is. But I saw that I broke his sword. And I realized how important my job, my role is. It's my job. Everybody else can break their swords and kick them around, but it's not my job. My job is to inspire him. My job is to shine that sword. And however that long that sword may be, it might be a little pocket knife, right? But my job is to sharpen that knife and is to only, again, I said, tell him the truth, but not break him down, not break him off, not send him into a hole. And I did that on that day. And sometimes, man, when I tell that story, I get emotional because that's not my job. And so that's the foulest thing.
Coach, you are the first to admit that
we don't have you.
Can you hear me? Oh, hold on. Let's see here.
I don't hear you.
Let me make sure I didn't mute myself. You got me, Coach?
No.
Nope. God dang.
It was whatever that issue probably before. And now you're mute.
What about now?
Wait, let me see something. Did I do something before? Let me see.
Whether you can hear us or not, this is the Coach's Co-op.
I'm good.
Running into technical difficulties.
I don't hear you.
Oh, no. Let me make sure I'm still plugged in.
But it's saying, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I don't.
Audio.
I don't hear you. You can hear me?
Test. I can hear you.
Yeah, I hadn't done anything different.
Hold on. No.
Nothing.
Test. Can you hear me now? Nope. Can you hear me there? Test. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, everything of mine is the same.
God dang it. We don't know what's happening here. Dang it. Let me try one thing. Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Yes?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. I don't know what happened there, but we back up.
Okay.
Good thing I can go back and edit that.
Right.
All right, Coach. Man, that's good stuff. You are the first person to ever admit that to share. I don't want to say admit, but to share that you are responsible for one of the foulest things you've ever experienced. We can all continue to learn, and let's make sure that we learn from Coach Malone. When we mess up, let's go on and make sure we fess up. All right, Coach, this brings us to the very last thing in this episode. One thing, anything that you would like to share before we get out of here. What do you have for us, Coach Malone?
Man, so yeah, that's crazy. But I think the biggest thing for me is that we all have the opportunity to impact right? That we all have the opportunity to, and here you are, we talking coaching, right? We're talking about people who are influencing athletes on the highest levels, but I always live my life to have us all understand that we can impact, that we can change the world, that we can. And I talked to my players about this a few days ago, is that you get on the elevator, right? When you get on the elevator, you got two choices when you get on the elevator. You can put your head down and silo up, or you can get on there and you can say, how you doing, man? How you doing, man? You doing all right? Doing that, I remember once I got on the elevator and I did that. And when I did that, a lady, she had pushed 7. I was going to 10. She stayed on 10 to tell me, I need you to know that I was thinking about suicide. But when you spoke to me, you made me think, why is he speaking to me? And when you spoke to me and I thought, why is he speaking to me? She said, God must have sent you to speak to me to let me know there's hope for me. And all I'm doing is speaking, and sometimes all you're doing is speaking. Another story. I'm a story guy. Last one, I promise. I was a student athlete, and at the University of Texas, after the games, if you win the game, they let the kids come onto the field. And so the kids come running onto the field. What do they want? Give me your helmet. Give me your jersey. Give me your socks, your shoelaces. Give me your wristbands. So the kids come out. By the time you get to the locker room, you don't have on any clothes, right? Well, there was this little kid standing there, and he was afraid to ask me for anything. All these other kids are coming up, taking the wristbands. Well, I said, hey, man, come here. So I told him to come over. I gave him a wristband. Well, I saw his little sister, I guess, so over here. And I told her, you come here. Gave her, because I was the guy, I wear 15 wristbands. But anyway, that's a different story. So I gave her a wristband as well. And man, I went on about my business, right? A few weeks later, I get a letter from their adoptive mother. And she, in that letter, explained to me that this young man and this young lady had lost their mother. The dad had killed their mother. And I think the dad might have committed suicide or something like that. But it was really extreme. And that these two kids, they were with this new family, and that they didn't talk at all. So they were trying to figure out, how can we get to them? How can we reach them? How can we, they don't even talk to us. How can we? So we said, hey, we're going to take them to a football game. So they took them to the football game. And after that, when are we going to the football game again? So that was the way, that was the opening for them. And man, from that letter, I kind of made a connection with these kids and this family. And over the years, he ended up going into the military, and she ended up going into the medical field, and they lived a great life. And it was not because of me, it was because of their family. But I think, man, me just having a small part of it on that day, walking off the field, giving a kid a wristband, it's just amazing to me how impactful the smallest gestures that we can make in our busy lives and our busy moments on people in those two examples.
Yeah,
That could be life-changing for them. And I just been blessed, man, to be able to experience things like that over the course of my life.
Coach, thank you for sharing those, because people need to know that those small moments, something as small as speaking in the elevator,
Man,
something as small as noticing a kid who might be a little timid and coming over, literally can be life-changing.
yeah.
Literally can be life-changing. And we have to, one, we have to do those things. And two, I think we need to share those things, because one, I think it kind of helps us know that we're kind of on the right path.
Right.
That we're kind of doing the right thing in life. Coach, man, this has been outstanding. Listen, those of you watching and listening, thank you for joining us here on the Coaches Co-op. I have had a great time. Big thanks to our guest, best-selling author and Houston Hall of Honor going into this fall. His sons might have to stand in this place. Here's the book. You need to get it, The Path for Coaches, Volume 1. Coach, thank you for sharing your journey and your wisdom. Listen, if you are walking away with new insight or energy for yourself personally, or for your program, or for your team, then we have done our job here on the Coaches Co-op. So what I need you to do is hit that like button, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. Coach, hang back with me for a second as we get ready for the outro. Listen, remember, here at the Coaches Co-op, coaches do what most people can't. Until next time, for Coach Van Malone, I'm Coach P. Y'all be easy.